The thing a lot of people miss when they yell, reach, is this. Santa Clara is not building a roster to win April draft grades. They are building one to survive in January. And right now, this feels like the kind of behind-the-scenes work serious contenders make before everyone else understands it. An overlooked defender is starting to look like a real find. There may be a chance to add more bite to the offense with 2 tight ends. There is a possible veteran answer inside to help protect Brock Purdy. And there is a huge linebacker who could become a weapon in the right hands. If you are part of the faithful, subscribe right now because this is about hidden value, contender pressure, and people doubting the Niners way too early. Now let's pull the cover off this draft debate because there has been a lot of lazy talk around the 49ers 2026 class. Some people rolled their eyes. Some said John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan forced picks. We got the usual internet reaction where the consensus board gets treated like the law. But in the middle of all that noise, one name is already pushing back against that narrative. Gracen Halton. Justin Mello of Sports Illustrated had already pointed to Jaden Duggar as a possible 5th-round steal. Now he has called Halton San Francisco's under-the-radar pick. And here is why that matters. Halton is not some perfect spreadsheet prospect. He is undersized for a defensive tackle at 6'3" and 293 pounds. But he plays with burst, first-step quickness, short area violence, and a nasty desire to live in the backfield. For a defense that needs to get back to being physical, annoying, and aggressive at the line of scrimmage, that is not a small detail. That is identity. At Oklahoma, Halton played 47 games and finished with 84 tackles, 17.5 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 passes defended, and 2 fumble recoveries, including 1 return for a touchdown. And here is the detail I really like. All of his sacks came in his final 2 seasons. That shows growth. That shows development. That shows a player who kept climbing instead of flashing early and fading away. He finished strong, earned second-team All-SEC as a senior, and helped Oklahoma reach the college football playoff. When John Lynch says Halton plays the style the 49ers like, that is not just a throwaway line. Lynch pointed directly to what matters in that building: attacking, getting into the opponent's backfield, being a captain, and making an impact. He also said people at Oklahoma raved about him, and he admitted the 49ers were surprised Halton was still there at pick 107. That tells you the front office had real conviction. They saw something, they believed in it, and when he fell, they jumped. The advanced numbers back up the bet too. Pro Football Focus gave Halton an 84.7 overall defensive grade, an 86.9 run defense grade, and a 76.9 pass rush grade, all career highs. Over his final 2 seasons, he generated 59 pressures. That is real production. Not just traits, not just a combine story. Now he joins a rebuilt front with Nick Bosa, Osa Odigizua coming in through a trade, rookie edge Romello Height, and Raheem Morris trying to get this defense back on track after an inconsistent 2025 season. The read is simple. If Halton's first step translates to the NFL, the 49ers did not just take a hidden name. They may have found a rotation piece who can wreck protection, squeeze the pocket, and bring danger back to the front 7. Could it go wrong? Of course. The 4th round is a fight, not a coronation. But calling this pick a disappointment before the first padded practice is more about winning an argument than understanding football. San Francisco does not need Halton to be a celebrity. They need him to come in fresh, attack a tired guard, and turn 3rd down into panic. That is the kind of value big-time teams find while everyone else is still staring at consensus boards. And if Halton is the kind of hidden value that helps the defense breathe, Jonnu Smith is the kind of quiet opportunity that could give this offense another layer nobody wants to defend on a pressure-filled Sunday. Jonnu was officially released by the Pittsburgh Steelers in March after just 1 season there, and he remains one of the most interesting names available after the draft. Let's be clear. This is not about replacing George Kittle. Kittle is still the name, the spirit, the hammer, and the face of that position in San Francisco. The real question is whether the 49ers can add more offensive flexibility, more protection against wear and tear, and more ways to force defenses to show their hand before the snap. That is where Jonnu starts to make sense. He is not just a tight end who lines up, blocks, and disappears. He has acceleration. He has strength after the catch. He has experience in different systems, and he can be used in different ways. For Kyle Shanahan, that is ammunition. Putting Kittle and Jonnu on the field together changes the math. If the defense goes heavy to stop the run, you attack the short and intermediate areas. If the defense answers with lighter nickel personnel, you motion, sell play action, and start pounding the front until it wears down. That is the kind of detail that separates a good team from a ruthless one. The 49ers offense does not need to become a circus. It needs to feel inevitable again. And when Brock Purdy is working through quick reads, Christian McCaffrey is manipulating attention, Kittle is threatening the middle, and a second athletic tight end is freezing linebackers, the board gets ugly for the opposing coordinator. The price obviously matters. Nobody is saying the 49ers should overpay just because the name sounds exciting. But if Jonnu comes at a smart number, on a short deal, with a clear role, that becomes a contender's bet. That is not desperation. That is a team looking at the NFC and asking, how do we steal one more edge before anybody notices? That is the point I would defend inside Santa Clara. Everyone looks for the massive headline move, but sometimes the real punch is in the personnel package. 2 tight ends, more force, more doubt, more Shanahan hiding the blade until the final second. Now let's put a finger on a wound no 49ers fan has really forgotten. Interior pressure kills pretty offense. You can have design, motion, talent, stars, all of it. But if Brock Purdy cannot set his feet because the pocket is collapsing in his face, the whole plan turns into survival. That is why Kevin Zeitler's name should not be treated like casual small talk. San Francisco drafted Carver Willis in the 4th round, and I like adding youth to that battle. He is expected to compete with Connor Colby and Robert Jones for the left guard job. But that spot is still the one truly open question on a line that became more stable after Trent Williams' extension. A serious contender does not look at an open interior spot and say, let's just see what happens, like there is no urgency attached to the season. Matt Okada of NFL.com brought Zeitler into the conversation for a clear reason. The man has 213 starts, 14 years in the NFL, and even at 36 years old, he is coming off 2 seasons with a top 15 PFF grade among guards. In 2024 with Detroit, he had an 86.5 offensive grade. In 2025 with Tennessee, he posted a 74.5 and allowed just 16 total pressures. That is not nostalgia. That is recent production. And here is what makes this idea even more aggressive. The 49ers have the need and the space. Okada mentioned around $44.9 million in cap room. So this is not some impossible fantasy. This is a veteran likely headed for a 1-year deal, fitting into a team that is not rebuilding. The Niners are trying to win right now. The memory hanging over all of this is Seattle. Those 2 losses at the end of 2025, including that 41-6 beating in the divisional round, cannot just become a footnote. In that game, the Seahawks pressured Purdy on 39.4% of his dropbacks. That is an alarm screaming inside the building. You do not answer that with speeches about confidence. You answer it by raising the competition, bringing a grown man into the room, and forcing everyone to level up. Zeitler would not be a flashy sign. Nobody throws a parade for a veteran guard in April. But you know who appreciates it? A quarterback who finishes the game clean. A running back who finds an inside crease. A coordinator who does not have to spend the entire game hiding a weakness. If Willis wins the job outright, great. If Colby breaks out, perfect. But handing over that position without even testing a name like Zeitler would be too much trust in a spot that has already cost too much. To me, this is one of those decisions that shows real ambition. You cannot say the window is open and then hold back right in front of Brock Purdy. San Francisco needs to treat left guard like a quiet priority because championships do not always die on the spectacular play. Sometimes they die in the 1 second the quarterback never got. And if the offensive line is about protecting the heart of the offense, Jaden Duggar is about giving the defense a body it simply did not have enough of last season. This is the kind of pick that looks small when it is announced, flies by on the screen, and then you look closer and think, wait a second, there might be a real idea here. Duggar went in the 5th round out of Louisiana at 6'5" and 230 pounds. That alone changes the conversation. Linebackers do not usually come with that kind of length. Fred Warner is 6'3". Dre Greenlaw is 6 foot. Duggar walks into the building with a different frame, taller, longer, and more disruptive to passing windows. And Matt Barrows of The Athletic hit the point that makes this pick even more interesting, the connection with KJ Wright. Wright, now the 49ers linebackers coach, was listed as a player at 6'4" and 246 pounds. So he knows exactly what it means to play linebacker outside the traditional mold. He knows how to use length without getting stiff. He knows how to survive in space, attack angles, face big tight ends, and avoid becoming an easy target in coverage. That relationship could be huge for Duggar, because development is not just about clean practice reps. It is about translation. It is about a coach looking at a player and saying, I have lived in that body, and I know where you can win. And let's say the uncomfortable truth. The 49ers struggled to cover tight ends last season. Part of that was injuries, of course, but they also lacked size in certain matchups. There were snaps where the opposing offense looked at the field and knew exactly where it wanted to attack. Duggar may not solve that in month one, but he gives them a different possibility. A tall linebacker who can challenge tight end routes, close passing lanes, disrupt windows, and maybe become a situational piece in specific packages. His final production at Louisiana also grabs your attention. 64 solo tackles and 4 sacks in his last season. That opens another door. With Chris Kosurik on the defensive line and Raheem Morris coordinating, you can imagine Duggar being tested as a blitzer, as an occasional rusher, or as that player who shows up on the edge and forces the offense to recalculate protection. I am not saying he becomes an instant star. I am saying the profile allows creativity, and defensive creativity with a long athlete is always dangerous. The linebacker room still has Warner and Greenlaw as the main guys when healthy, along with Tatum Bethune, Nick Martin, Garrett Wallow, and Luke Gifford fighting for roles. So Duggar will have to earn his space through details, special teams, practice habits, and intelligence. But the pairing with Wright feels like it could speed up that process. It is not just similar height, it is a similar football language. It is a coach who can take a rare trait and help turn it into a real role. So now I want to check the temperature of the fan base. Would you use Duggar early in packages against bigger tight ends, or let him grow slowly behind Warner and Greenlaw? Because my read is this: a 5th-round pick does not need to walk in as a savior. But if he becomes a matchup answer, a third-down weapon, or a body that finally bothers those physical NFC tight ends, the 49ers may have found more than depth. They may have found a project with teeth. At the end of the day, today's message is clear. Stop judging the 49ers only by the obvious shine. Halton could be chaos inside. Jonnu Smith could make the offense meaner. Zeitler would bring veteran protection to a wound Seattle ripped open. Duggar could become a matchup the defense did not have. None of this comes with guarantees, but contenders do not wait for everything to feel comfortable before they move. Santa Clara needs to be aggressive in the details, because championships are won before Sunday even realizes it. So hit the like button, comment which one of these moves you want to see happen most, and subscribe to follow every signal coming out of the Niners.